Are you ready to save our kids? If children are the living messages that we send to a time that we will not see, Save Our Kids is an opportunity for you to be introduced to a few school and student helpers that will support each child's individual journey. If there is a space or a place to improve the lives of our children, we know a few families and business owners who have made it their business to answer the call for help and provide a solution to those quietly discussed challenges that impact our children and eventually us all. We could not just choose one kiddo to save, so we are asking for your help to reach more. Join Keeping Your Kids Safe as we identify some of the problems and share a few solutions that have been created just for you. Yes, we are here. Hello, Loralyn. How are you doing today?
Hello, Tabitha. As always, excited to talk to you here about the kinds of things you're up to and really stand behind your mission to keep kids safe and do more.
This is good. I'm so thankful that you decided to do this. I wanted to make sure that we put some focus on what you do and help parents to get prepared for what's coming up in the fall. We always have to plan. We have to prepare for these young ones to be successful in their school years. And summertime is a time for fun and reconnecting with everyone, but it's also an opportunity to actually improve the learning experience of each child that goes to K through 12. So thank you so much for hanging out here. So let's go to it. Let's see if I can get this done.
All right.
I know.
All right.
Sometimes it's strange. Okay, so as always, we're going to go ahead. Let me go ahead and do this. As always, thank you very much for spending your time with us. This platform is not a platform to say what you are doing so wrong, because no matter what you say, we love our teachers. It doesn't matter. The good ones, the bad ones, and the ones in between, we love you all. You know why? Because you teach us something we were unaware of and we need to learn. So we do this. So we want you to understand you're not alone in teaching our youth. You're not alone in going through this process. We have your back. We're willing to get in there and help you with the different ideas and thoughts that we have come up with our own respective businesses to help support you and being able to do what you love best, which is teach our young. So I just wanted to make sure that we understood that. I always like to give a special thanks to our friends at Helpopedia. And guess what? Today we got one of them, right? So Helpopedia is an opportunity or a place where you can get help for your children, whether it's planning for college, planning for high school, or even differentiating yourselves from your partner and your friends while attempting to go into college. If you have a special needs opportunity, or you're struggling with trying to learn what the things are that you need to do with your special needs baby, then you can always come over to Helpopedia. They have a lot of people that are there to help and support you be successful as you take on this journey in education. I'm not very good about promoting, but if you can go ahead and scan a QR code to like and subscribe to the channel, we will be there. We have the ability to send. We're always doing lives, and we go ahead and continue to add value that you will be able to use later on. So we're going to get started. At the end of the day, the reason why I do this is because the numbers and information out there actually provide enough information to let us know that our children are suffering and struggling, and we are responsible for helping them. I am going to take a slight detour this morning only because there's something that's pressing, and I want to make sure that I make it very clear. By this point, a lot of the families have heard about the young man who lost his life due to a police shooting. Nobody really wants to talk about these things. Everybody's like, hush, hush, we can't have this discussion. I take a stance on this that's slightly different from many, and it goes like this. At the end of the day, it is very, very hard to say one thing is wrong and the other thing is right. But what we know to be true is this. The guns are not the problem. The choice to pick up a gun is a problem, one. But in this scenario, that was not the case. He had a gun that looked very similar to a real weapon. A police officer does not have an opportunity to say, hey, maybe that's a BB gun or maybe that's a water gun. So they have to act because their lives may be in danger. That was a very unfortunate incident, and I hope and pray that the family finds peace and what is going to happen in the fallout of all of this. My request for all of those families and with young people, please stop giving these guns, these play guns to these kids. We are participating in the loss of life when we give our children a toy that resembles something that takes lives from someone else. We cannot idly sit by and not say anything about this, because then we participate in it as well. And I no longer wish to participate in the silence that is happening around the deaths of these young people when it can be things that can be prevented. Those guns need to be bright colors or something that resembles a toy and not resembles the real thing. That child lost his life because of a decision that was made, and he was unaware that the consequences was going to be his life. Please make different choices so your children can make those choices as well. Okay, so Loralyn, we're going to allow you to come on up and talk a little bit about you and SteerUs and tell us what you got going on before we jump into this conversation.
Absolutely. So just even carrying on where you left off, none of us wants to be complicit in the fall and failure of our children. This is why we have the businesses that we do, because we want to take a proactive stance in making an impact. And that means a positive impact, so we can change the trajectory of our youth. And not just the youth who are underserved, but all youth. Because we look at the problems that are happening in society today, and we won't get into all of that here, but everything from what's going on offshore, the political divides, the economic uncertainty, an election year coming here in the US, plus all of the machinations and everything left over from COVID, children are hurting. Parents are hurting too. And so we need to do things. And this is where I'm excited, because I have two roles. So as a co-founder of Helpopedia and as the founder of SteerUs, I get the opportunity to be able to support youth from a couple of different sides. And I don't know if you want me to get into that now, Tabitha, or you have some questions first you want to set up. How would you like to go?
Go ahead. Tell them your secrets.
All right. So, my secrets. I have so many. I don't know if I want to air them out, right? Because this is a public show. Anyway, so with SteerUs, what we've done is we've created a gamified e-learning platform, and it's all about workplace readiness, soft skills, leadership, and where we're really focused on bridging that gap between the managers and the people that are rising and the people that are coming into the workforce, and how these two different groups are connecting. What we've done is taken all of that with our behavioral assessments. We've got a tool that allows us to be able to customize any assessment. What do you want to assess? Someone's willingness to do something, someone's readiness to do something, and all this wonderful analytics on the back end, so that we can crank out how you stand as an individual versus how you compare to your peer group. And that's pretty special. So we're pretty excited about that. Plus, then we can customize the courses and the training that we deliver to you. Okay, take all of that on the SteerUs for-profit side, and boom, we've used all that technology to power Helpopedia and the Hub for Help. What makes that special is that we've got a huge emphasis on youth development, and the opportunity where what we can do is we can work with different groups who make a request and say, we have this nonprofit association or this group of teens or children, or hey, I'm a parent and I'm struggling with how to provide parenting, how to be able to support my teen. They're going through some stuff personally. And what we want to be able to do is, here we go, just calls coming. You try to stop them and block them, but you can't do that. Anyways, I'm sorry how that goes. Like, ignore, because if you go into airport mode, right, then of course you can't be on the live here. So anyway, it's just, how life is. So back to Helpopedia. What we want to do is take those requests in that come from parents, youth groups, schools, and whatever else, who say, we have a need for X. Then what we do is we evaluate that need, look at how we can get funding for it, and look at the expertise we have across our membership. And of course, Tabitha, you're a wonderful board member at Helpopedia, and what we can do as a community, as a group, as a nonprofit organization to find those monies that are needed to be able to provide that program. And one of the programs we're really excited about, Helpopedia, is that we have the opportunity to customize internships, right? I mean, who does that? So that, right, we can work with the student or the school and say, okay, we have a need for these programs. Help these students go through a standard curriculum. So they're learning soft skills, they're learning workplace readiness skills, and then they're geared up and ready. And then when they graduate from that program, and it's not that long, it's not years, it's like weeks, then they're ready to be assigned and to shadow one of our community partners in a mentorship / internship role, where they can have the opportunity to say, yeah, I think I like this career, this path, what's involved, and then they do a project with that Helpopedia member, and the Helpopedia member is mentoring that youth, that student, on their path in that career. So that's what we do, which is a lot. It's a lot of words, a lot of stuff. Let me turn it back over to you.
You're funny, but this is true. But Phil had come and had shared some of that with us before about what we do and how we're here to support. So my question is to you. So we recognize that we have approximately 37% of our youth do not know how to read, which also equates into the financial side of that. And that is heartbreaking, because we don't realize, and I think next time I'm going to bring the stats that actually show the breakdown of what that 37% end up converting into, whether that's into the prison system, whether that's, just homelessness. It can be a lot of different things. I think a lot of times the schools participate in this in a way that's unhealthy, because like I've said before, I have been on these ARD meetings and these IEPs, and I've witnessed where they are literally taking away the ability for a special needs child to learn how to write without being hand over hand, or learn how to write a letter, sign their name, any of those items. Because even with digital being added, you still have to sign on that pad. You still have to take the pencil or your finger and sign your name. But in middle school, they literally started taking it away. So that makes it harder. So with understanding that is what's happening, tell me, what should parents do over the summer that would help, and how could SteerUs be part of that?
Yeah, so first let me just take a step back and sort of where the problems are. Again, from the beginning of this telecast, we started talking about being complicit, and we don't want to do that. And it's also, schools are limited. There's budgets. There's all the ESSER funds run out here in September. Teachers are limited. They've got the curriculum. They've got to knock it out. And it makes it really difficult. How do you do this? We look at the two big problems. One, there's learning loss as a result of COVID. Right now, the youngest kids have gone through several years, and we're seeing those effects, which are resulting in some abysmal scores nationwide on the national report card, where I believe it was 38 of the states have a grade that is a failing grade. I mean, that's just atrocious. I look here in Newark, New Jersey, where I am, and I know that the high schools here, the 9 high schools, the average grade 12 student, so a senior in high school, is reading and doing math at a grade 4 level. Not acceptable on any planet, right? So problem one, we have learning loss related to COVID. Problem two, which has really started to show itself, is school avoidance. Right now, there's a record number of students, about 8 million nationwide, that should be in school that are not in school. And school avoidance is different than truancy. Truancy is like, I'm not going to tell my parents, I'm going to skip out, I'm going to go to the mall, or I'm going to do something fun for today. That's truancy. Yes, that's a problem. School avoidance is still a problem, right? But school avoidance, kids aren't going to school, and their parent or guardian or caregiver is going, they're there. That's okay, child. I get it. There's bullying in the schools. You don't really want to be there. Don't go. But what's really disheartening is a study just came out from Pew that showed, yeah, it's going to be tech. You know, I run a tech company, but yeah, there's always tech problems with this stuff, end user stuff. So what's happening is that they interviewed a bunch of parents, randomly across the US, And a staggering number, almost 1/3, said, I thought school was optional by high school.
Oh,
It's like, on what planet? Right?
when
And
did
then
that
on
happen?
top of school avoidance, so then here's actually the third problem, right? Just to set up the stage. The third problem is that the majority of schools in the southeastern United States have decided that a 4-day school week
Yes.
is appropriate. They're not adding hours. Now, in a couple of school districts, they are. So it's not universal. I want to be careful about that. But most of the school districts are just wiping out Friday and saying, yeah, I don't go to school. The teachers are thrilled. Great long weekend. Students are thrilled. Oh, a mental health day, which is important because we know there's mental health challenges. But the problem is when you look at learning loss from COVID, you look at school avoidance, and you look at, in many school districts, a reduced school time and learning week, our kids are not being set up for success. And so this is where we come in. So a very long-winded introduction there with SteerUs and Healthopedia, where we're providing that after-school enrichment and what kids can do and how we can bridge that gap between parents and their children and workers, managers, and the incoming employees so that we can better position youth for success because they're not getting what they need in the schools. Now, to your question, now that we set that up, right? To your question,
Yeah,
to the summer.
I got more questions.
Well, why don't we get to those, then we'll get to what to compare and to do for the summer. We'll come back to that. So Tabitha.
Because, okay, so I don't want to go down this rabbit hole necessarily, but I do think it's something to be said. First of all, the 4-day work week, a 4-day school week is good only for education and not for the families. And I think that when we first go and look at it, we say, yes, this will be awesome. I don't have to, so the kids don't have to go to school. They only have to go to school for 4 days, right? But remember, they did that with medical too. Before you do 40 hours and it was 8 hours. And then they increased it to a 12-hour workday, right? And they reduced the hours. But we're not adding hours to the 4-day work, a 4-day school, 4-day school week. We are just saying you don't need Friday, which becomes a problem because families work Monday through Friday. Why are we doing this to these families? What on earth are we thinking to believe that it is acceptable to put parents in a situation where now not only do they have to pay taxes for education and not get the outcome that they want and they actually expect to have, but then they have to turn around and pay for childcare in a different way and potentially increase the amount of latchkey kids. And yes, I'm aging myself with that phrase, latchkey kids at home. So when is it that we get to be part of the conversation that says stop? That's not a good idea. And these are the reasons why. And these are options, alternative options to solve the problem. You have school avoidance because you won't solve the bullying problem. The bottom line is if a bully has been highlighted as a bully, he needs to be expelled or he needs to be moved he or she needs to be moved to a program that is better suited for them. And then put all the bullies in one area and let them figure that mess out while right? So you have to find a way through this. And I hate the fact that people say, well, bullying is just a K-12 situation. It is not. Because those bullies turn into adult bullies, and those adult bullies find positions in order for them to continue to bully other people. Knock it off. Stop doing that and fix the problem so you can have a full school week that allows children to feel encouraged to learn.
There's so many layers here. I'm just doing some research for a grant on problematic sexual behaviors. A study came out last year that 13% of males in college have either attempted to rape or raped someone in college. That's mind-blowing. And it's because we're not rolling it back earlier and providing that psychoeducation and all those social learnings, pro-social activities to say this is not right. This is what you need to do. And as we take away all these opportunities, like the extra day of learning in schools, the problems that it causes at home because the caregiver can't afford, even if they could find childcare, which is a huge problem, but then many people are already struggling to pay bills, working multiple jobs. Like, we're just exacerbating the problem. Look at earlier this week, actually, it was last week, that poor child that died. The mom was just trying to go to work, so she left her child in the car. And fortunately, right, the child died given the high heat. Like, that shouldn't be. There should be a place to bring the children for childcare, or for at least schooling for some of the time, to reduce the impact. We're not doing any of the right things. Now, SteerUs and Healthopedia, we don't do those things. We're
No.
really focused on that after school enrichment, that pro-social activities, emotional intelligence, learning time management, building
Community
resilience and
building.
coping skills, those things.
Community building.
Yes.
Helpopedia is extremely helpful and passionate about building the right community. You cannot have these children floating around, or these families floating around with no options. And that is kind of where this is, right? Is the fact that we have that people feel like they don't have options. When people don't have options, they become more dangerous for anybody and everybody around them.
That's right. And again, rolling it back earlier and earlier, and recognizing how the teacher's hands are literally tied. They can't do things, but if we could find ways through these after school enrichment, or these are the kinds of things we can do, go into our Hub for Help, the e-learning platform, learn about social skills, learn about empathy and emotional intelligence, and how that other person might feel if you were bullying them. And put yourself, they always say this, but it's the best thing, put yourself in the shoes of that person who's being bullied. What would it be like to be told, you're fat, you're ugly, you're gross, you're hideous, your clothes suck, you're poor?
Yeah.
Who wants
Or
that?
the physical side of it, because kids have lost their lives because of the relentless, either they take their lives, they make a choice to no longer participate in life, or they are murdered by kids, and then we give them a pass because they're so young, they don't know any better. You know the difference between something being alive and something no longer being able to breathe. So I am firm in my belief, if you teach a child right from wrong and they turn around and do something wrong, the consequence have to meet the crime. And if it doesn't, then you are teaching your child that they have the ability to do whatever they want, and there are no consequences that hit them. But unfortunately, when the world gets a hold of them, the consequences are more dire than what you will ever be able to do to them K through 12. So we need to get our priorities straight as the adults. We're the ones that have been through the system, and it worked for some and not for others. Or it didn't work for any of us, and we're all figuring out how to get there. But the bottom line is that we hold the reins, and the answers to the question is, what do we need to do or change in order to get the outcome from education that we want our children to have?
Right, because the future trajectory is bleak, not only from an economic and earnings potential, because they've got learning loss, school avoidance, less time learning, all of this stuff. So they're not going to be as competitive as their peers who may be coming in from other states or out of the country. And then it also depends on where you live. So I live in New Jersey, in an affluent county. I'm fortunate to be here. And there are so many social constructs around helping these youth who start to go down the wrong path. The Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention has a mission to make it so that children are treated like children. They are treated like children. They are treated in their homes, and they are helped. It takes a lot of work and a lot of money for the psychoeducation, treatment, and counseling of a youth who is going down the wrong path to reduce that risk of future recidivism. It takes a lot of investment, a lot of effort, and most counties cannot afford that. So the youth doesn't get what they need. And many state governments don't invest in this youth program. So there's no money for the training. So what happens? They go down the path of increased harm to themselves, to other members of the community, putting the community at risk. And then they go down the path of incarceration, which of course leads to no future, really, often for that individual, a very difficult time while they are incarcerated, and a huge impact, public burden on paying for that incarceration. So if we could, again, just not be complicit and roll it back earlier, and if every state could adopt the law that New Jersey has, where you have to have a HIB, a harassment, intimidation, bullying coordinator, assigned to every school, with a portal to report any behaviors on school campus or outside of school, so they can nip that stuff in the bud and say, you don't get to tell her she's fat and ugly. That's bullying. There's a consequence. And it's not just a detention, go write an essay. Here, you need to take this program, stuff like we have, that says you need to learn to be a nice person. You need to learn to be kind. You need to learn respect. You need to learn empathy and emotional intelligence, rather than just there, spend 1 hour scrolling on your phone after school.
Right.
It's not
Man, I wasn't sure where you're going with this, but I get it now. And I agree. So I agree. Roll it back. It needs to. So here's the thing. You wait until we're adults, full grown adults in a corporate environment to give us sexual harassment training or, respect of other people training. All these trainings that we're asked to do as adults. If you did that mess in schools, we would just be doing refresher courses. Okay, these are the new rules you need to abide by. These are the new things that have come up. But I don't believe it's the state's responsibility, to be honest. This is, we're going to play a little tug of war. I don't believe it's the state's responsibility to do this. I believe it's the community's responsibility to do this. I think that the community has the responsibility to make it, the parents have a responsibility to build a community that will support the family as well as the child in a way that helps them to nurture them and catch them before they go down the wrong path. So I say that because there is an opportunity. How many times did we get called on the block? My mom gets called on the block for something I've done, right? How many times did my mom get a phone call from someone that says, I just seen your kid in a place I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to be, right? So that's community. That's a community that you've built around your family that helps you to keep your children out of harm's way and going down the wrong path. When we hand over these type of responsibilities to the state agencies and the State Department of any state, we are saying that we, as the parents of these children, do not have the resources or the know-how of how to raise a child from 0 to 18 successfully without them going into the incarceration route, right? That means that the government will have the ability to continue to come in and destroy the families the way they have consistently been doing since the 70s. So I say again, build a community. It is our responsibility, not the government. Keep them out of your family homes and you will keep your families together. You invite them into your family homes and you're guaranteed to not have the outcome you're looking for.
But again, it's rolling it back. These safety nets exist in some counties and some governments, which is wonderful, but they exist because the parent has let it lapse in many, many of these cases. We see them like through the work that I do. The safety net is there. The child is on their own. They're in court. Their parent or caregiver is not even in court with them because the parent is gone, I give up, tough.
Because all of the rules have been taken away from them. That's so options from the parents have been taken away. I apologize. The parents' options have been removed. When you remove options if the parents can't parent properly without being called on the phone and say, my mom is harassing me or they're abusing me, none of it being true. And then the law steps in. Now you lose your rights to be able to parent your child.
Okay, now that's in those cases. Now I'm talking about the cases where the youth, again, and like with juvenile justice, has done something that they've been impacted.
Okay.
And again, it just rolls back earlier. The parent should be saying no and setting boundaries. The teacher should be allowed to say, no cell phones in my classroom. You're going to focus on me. If you're going to come into class, we're going to learn together. We're going to build a relationship and I'm going to help you learn and identify where your strengths are, your weaknesses, and help you get through it and get you to the other side of the grade by the end of the year, right? By June. That's where I'm going with that. And so, but yeah, there's other cases too. There's a lot of that. And that's, I think, a whole other show and a hot mess there. But we're focused on it. Yeah. Again, it's just, this is what we're really trying to do with Helpopedia, and it's just offer some of these supports right? These community supports and constructs where we can say, let's help your child and let's help you. We've got some courses, we've got Ask Me Anything webinars where you can talk to our parent coaches and these other folks who have great expertise and how to navigate these difficult relationships, especially during the teenage years, right? What does the teenager do? I'm going to my room, right? Door slams, they go in, and then they're on social media. And then they're doing the sad scroll, right? Hour after hour. Oh, and they're staying up till 2, 3, or 4 in the morning because you didn't put parental controls on. Yes, there are some whiz-bang kids who can figure out how to navigate around it, but that's not the average kid. Put your freaking parental controls on the internet and go, guess what? It goes off at 10 o'clock and I get your phone. So you can go to bed and get 8 hours of sleep. You really need 10, but if you got 8, I'd be happy. Then you can go to school. Hopefully, there's programs in place through the state, or you have the financial means to give your child a good breakfast to get them set up on the day so that they can go into school rested and ready to learn, right? Not hungry. That's these things seem so simple, but my goodness, they're hard to implement for whatever reason.
I think people have lied. I think so. The hot car incidents, I don't believe that maliciously parents said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and put my children in the car and see if they can survive that. That's not what happens. I think that we are so caught up in all the things that we're trying to push out for other people that we forget that without our foundation, those other people won't matter. I'm a firm believer that if your foundation, if your home cracks, everything after that will do nothing but crack. It's like having a crack in your driveway and thinking, oh, it's just the driveway, only to find out that it's actually impacted the foundation of your home. And now you got cracks in the walls and you got cracks in places you didn't see before. And now you got to come in and have somebody come in and help level your home so it can stop trying to crack and break in half, right? The thing about all of this is that we have to be, first of all, we have to change. We have to be willing to say, this isn't working and we don't like this. So what do we need to do to make the change? But we also have to start to listen to these young people because they have the answers. They're the one incurring, they're dealing with a lot of things that we're unaware of how to deal with. My thing for the parents is summertime is a time for us to have fun and connect. Yes, but there's a regression that happens for all children, except for the ones who maintain a certain level of education through the school year. Through the summer, right? And so I think that's where your group will actually, SteerUs could actually help and support families and just keeping that up going. So tell me about that.
Exactly. And then we'll just wrap up here. So just in these last thoughts for the summer. So it is a time of fun. So you want to encourage and have some relaxed time. If you can have a PTO day, do a fun and unstructured day. Phil Vitrano, my wonderful, amazing co-founder in Helpopedia, we just did a live show yesterday. You'll find it on YouTube, SteerUs, talking about 7 things you as a parent can do so that you and your teenager both get through the summer healthier and happier at the end of it. So do some nature things. Make a pledge that every day you do something that you are active. Activity is even cleaning your room. Yes, teenagers, that's just going to happen once in a while. You got to do it. But at least you're physically active and not laying on the bed with the sad scroll on social media, right, till all hours. Walk the dog. Walk the dog with your child. All the studies show that walking together is a really good way to be able to connect. It's not so much pressure where it's a one-on-one, face-to-face, and like, yeah, I'm going to be in your face and we're going to talk about stuff that really makes you uncomfortable, right? It's like, yeah, let's walk the dog, look at the neighborhood, whatever. But the other thing that they can do, go to Helpopedia, go to the Hub for Help, go to SteerUs, steer.us, sign up for the Success Academy. There is a ton of content on there. Do it with your teenager. Go ahead. Spend 10 to 15 minutes a day. Consume one learning capsule on a concept. Talk about it. Print out the workbook. Don't print it out if you don't have a printer. That's fine. Just read it. And just sit together and say, how does this work? This is where I see it from my side as a parent and as an older person. How do you receive this information from your side as a younger person? What do you think the gap is? What do you think's missing? What do you wish the older person knew related to this subject? That's how you open up the conversation. And with kiddos, just paint and play.
Paint and, you're funny, paint and play. But wait a second, what about how do you get them to talk to you? You know, ultimately, we have a whole entire group that just are not interested in having conversations with their families, with their parents. So I mean, they're, like you said, close the door, I don't want to talk to you, and things like that. But there's no, I don't understand, how do you motivate them to want to do better in school? What do we need to do as a community to actually encourage and motivate them to go to school or attempt to learn? Because I get it. You know, somewhere along the line, the trades went away and now university's in play. And university carries a higher dollar amount that they get to
Right.
be in debt for. And it's not okay. So,
No. And that's not working either. And then that's where third parties like Helpopedia, like SteerUs can come in. There's all kinds of opportunities. We're connected to other nonprofits and groups where through a parenting session, join a parenting webinar. Geez, how do I talk to my teen? Do an ask me anything, talk to the experts. How do you break the ice? How do you get that going? How do you talk about future consequences in life? All of these things and tips that we're rolling out and trying to work with to help parents and their children have better connections, because it really is all about relationships. And when you have those toxic relationships, which coincidentally SteerUs gets into 7 p.m. on Tuesdays Eastern Time on YouTube. Tonight we have a spiritual happiness coach who talks about the breakdown of relationships at the personal and professional level, and how if we could repair those, we would have spiritual fulfillment, greater happiness, less toxicity in our lives, better mental health, and yes, better success.
I like that. I'm glad that you were able to do that. Phil says mentors are important. I
Yes.
believe that, I mean, they're peer-to-peer mentors and ones that are in the field that those children are looking to, or those students are looking towards, right? I think that having a sounding board, because a lot of these students don't necessarily have the support of their family, you know.
That's right.
And
And that's where they need that neutral third party who genuinely cares about children and their success.
right.
We genuinely do, right? That's Helpopedia to a core, right?
Yeah, I get it. So, families, I think that you can go to steer.us and learn a little bit more about, you know, what Loralyn Mears is doing. So the studies actually show us that this is important. This is something that we can do. You're talking about your children are just not willing to go to school for various reasons, and reasons that apparently we just haven't figured out how to solve. But there is still a way through it. And with the right community members, you have a way through it. I know a couple people, Phil, he's really good about wanting to plan. I would love to be able to have Elaine join us on one of these calls or one of these lives, so that we can discuss the bullying and what things she has put into place in order to help prevent or to minimize that. Because bullying won't go away completely. But what you add to it is the opportunity for consequences to be added to people who break those rules. But right
That's
now,
right.
we're breaking a lot of rules.
And Christine Bernat has a wonderful cell phone contract for children and one for teens. These are the kinds of things you have to do. But with that, I know my time is up, Tabitha. It's always wonderful to talk to you, be part of your audience. Thank you for making that possible. And for those in your audience that are listening now, please take a look at helpopedia.org. It's like Wikipedia, but we offer help. Helpopedia.org, our hub for help there. And steer.us, where we've got our Success Academy and all kinds of assessments and things to help you out and figure out where to go and what to do.
Right. So I thank you very much. Phil, if you want to join us up here, that would be great. So yes. So have a great one, Loralyn. It was fun having you here. All right. So our friends at Helpopedia, I'll give myself a minute to see if someone else is going to join to let me know. But ultimately, we are responsible for what our children are doing over the summer. And it's okay that we want to go to the beach and have fun and all of those things. I think it's amazing and an awesome way to build relationships with your children. Keep in mind, they still have to be educated, because eventually you want them to be able to launch on their own and do the things, be successful in their lives. So it's up to us to make the decision to do something different, and provide a pathway for their success. So with that being said, I will have to say we're going to go ahead and end this early a little bit. Oh, wait, I got somebody who's going to join. So let's see about that. Uh, so hang on one second. I'm going to bring someone else up, and then we can have that conversation. We can continue our conversation for a few more minutes. But what I will say is that we all have a choice, and the thing about it is we can choose to do nothing. Phil, I just sent you the link. This is cool because it's live and you just say out loud. So look at your email. You should have a link. You can go ahead and join us here. We get to choose. All those people who tell you don't get to choose, they're not telling you the truth. You do get to choose. You get to choose where your child goes to school. That's why they're making changes. You get to choose whether or not what arena your child will play in, what school that they can go to, and then potentially what career they're going to have. And you can choose to listen or not listen to them. But at the end of the day, they are what is going to help us be successful later. And it's just up to us to make the decision to do something different. It's not okay for our children to suffer and feel as though they're on their own. So I just feel like it's our responsibility to get it together. So while we wait for Phil here comes Phil. We're going to have that conversation. So we have Loralyn up here. Hi, Phil.
Hello. I have to stop the other recording because now I hear the stereo.
Yes, you got to stop the other one. But yeah, so Loralyn was talking about going to SteerUs, and I know that we have all been working towards that and bringing that into school. So if you want to share a little bit more about what other things parents can do for the summer, because you're doing planning and vision, she's trying to keep them in the LMS. I'm like, I just want people to stop doing some of the crazy stuff they're doing and stop being complacent about this stuff.
Yeah, great job today. I mean, you really hit it on the head. It was so sincere and so apparent and so obvious. And I'm glad you shared those important messages for the situations that we're in. And so to answer your question about so we did an event yesterday. We talked about 7 steps, but I'll share with you the ones that we didn't tell.
All right, come on now.
Yep. So if you have a teenager, and they're in the college frame of mind. So this is definitely a summer activity where you can explore a variety of different colleges and careers to determine what they'd like to do. And this can be a fun activity. But it's important to manage the expectations instead of putting all the pressure on your kids about their future, because generally they don't like talking about their future. They don't generally talk about their future. Especially, I have more female clients than I do male clients, and there's a reason for that. Generally, the male population at teenage years, they're generally not open books. They prefer not to talk about themselves nor about their future. And so the level of maturity of females are much higher than the boys, and the females are more optimistic about the future than the boys are. So that's just some insights to share with the audience.
That is not good. You wait a second. You're not going to blow by that, Phil. We're not blowing by that. Oh my gosh. What are we doing? Why? Oh my gosh. Why are the girls more optimistic about the future than the boys? What have we done that makes the men or the boys feel as though there is no future for them to plan for?
Yeah, so I think it's the level of urgency, as opposed to that's extreme, right? Not to care about their future. There's a level of caring, but then there's action that's not taking place. And it's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. And so there's that delay of engaging. And so the level of procrastination about something that they've never done before is easy to see, that if you are not practicing this activity, if you're not talking about this activity, all of a sudden it hits you when you're asking your son, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? It's an unfair question to ask what you want to do for the rest of your life, because I'm an analyst and you want that 365 day times 50 years view of what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. So
I'm off the path.
Yeah. So,
I said, they asked those are terrible questions, by the way. Educators, those are terrible questions. Parents, those are terrible questions. What do you want to do for the rest of your life? No, it's what are you interested in? What are your interests? What lights you up? What makes you fiery? What's the thing that you can do every day, all day, and not get paid for it, but still enjoy it? When we start asking those type of questions, I think that we get closer to what providing them a pathway to what their journey is going to provide to them, and not what we think they should be provided. Because like I said, there's a lot of lawyers that are bakers now.
They're making doughs.
Yep. They're making dough, but not the way we think.
So Tabitha, even that question that you've asked, what is interesting to you? What lights up your fire? If you're not prepared for the answer of I don't know,
I'm okay with that.
So that's the expectation to manage. Listen, I'm going to ask you a question. You don't have to know the answer to this. That's a better presentation. You've reduced the pressure. I'm just trying. If you've already figured this out, we can save a lot of time.
Yes, right.
But if you don't know, let's discover this together. Let this be a goal of ours, a goal of yours. Let's figure out what it is that you'd be interested in learning and studying and being captivated by. And if you don't know, we're going to provide you with topics and options. And let's walk through this list, because there's lists. And the question is, do you have the list? Generally, we talk generally, right? What's your interest? But we don't give them the list of options that they choose from. And that's harder for a student because they've not been exposed to all their options. So if you're not exposed to all your options, who's going to present it to them? And so this is where the incredible opportunity comes to show them, because you may not be an expert in showing them all their options. So you've got to connect with someone who knows and understands, at minimum, to show them a level of 50, 70, 100 options. And all it is a list. Your loved one is going to look at that particular topic. They're going to know quickly whether they're interested in learning more or not. And so, but if you're not giving them the inventory, you're rolling the dice and hoping that they come up with something in their lifetime has sparked their interest and engagement. But let's be proactive parents. Let's get ahead of this and not put the immense pressure for them to figure it out themselves, because that is society's method, is that you have to figure this out yourself. I say, no. That is not your option. It's not the way to go. There's a method, and I have the method. I will share that method with them. They just have to contact me, or I've given them the sprinkles of ideas. Wow. That's how I could have this engaging conversation without the pressure and expectation of a parent to expect that your teenager has figured this out for themselves.
Yeah.
Which is
I didn't figure it out. I didn't know where I was going to be when I was in school. So when they said, hey, I think you would be better suited to go this direction because of everything that you're exhibiting, I was like, yeah, I'm not interested in that. Right. But what I wasn't interested in was the continuation of the bad behavior of these doggone teachers. That is what I was not interested in. And that is the reason why when I first was introduced into college opportunities, I was not interested, because I equated college with the same foolishness I had dealt with for K through 12. And so if those students are out there feeling that way, there's a reason why they are not interested in figuring out what's next for me, or what do I want to do. But I will tell you that about 5 years ago, I asked a 30-plus-year-old man, what is it do you want to do? What is it that lights you up? Because you're unhappy in this position. So what is it that you would prefer to do? What is the one thing that if you could choose that job and you'd be your dream job, what would it be? You know what he said? No one has ever asked me that question. I said,
Oh,
okay, I understand that. Here's what I will say. Please think about it and call me back. I never got a phone call back. So there's something to be said about the fact that we talk about your careers and what's going to happen in our later years. But the point is that if we never bridge those conversations, those individuals, those children that will turn to adults will never truly dream about their future because their future was never meant to be chosen by them, right? And so I think that we have to get out of their way because we are part of the problem. For both of my children, they're creatives. They're artists in their respective places. My son is very talented in writing. I mean, I was like, whoa, okay, he can be a journalist. He can write books. He can write stories. He would be really good at that, right? But the thing that lights him up wasn't writing a book, or it wasn't writing a poem or any of those journalistic opportunities. It was music. And one thing was that I had to realize that the pathway I seen for him, there were multiple pathways, but I only seen one because I viewed it as one of the only options for those type of people. But it turns out there are way more options for them because songwriting is a poem. Songwriting is writing a story. The jacket covers is writing, the backs of books and things like that. So there's lots of ways that he can utilize it in the space in which that lights him up, right? But you got to be willing to hear the answer to the question, even if it's not the answer you want to have. And that's why parents get in the way of those children. Your child is saying, I want to be a lawyer, marching to the beat of I want to be a lawyer, but you're directing them to be a medical professional instead, which is really taking their hope and their dreams away and putting your dreams in their place. I think people, we really just need to start listening more. And I think today my theme was, because before I got on this call, I was like, people are not listening. Why are we not listening? I don't get that part. But that is sad when he said, nobody has ever asked me that question. So what that told me was nobody really cared to hear his opinion about his own future. So he just got on the train and allowed everybody else to steer him to where he is today. And he's not accepting responsibility for the fact that he just got on the train. And he didn't say, no, I don't want to do this. He was like, that's all right. I'll just let them steer the train. And if it crashes, I can blame them and never take responsibility. But ultimately, still is your fault because you were complicit, the word of the day, Loralyn, you were complicit in going along with something you didn't agree with.
Wow. So that was tremendous, Tabitha. You covered so many great points. And the story is so important to share, that you've had this conversation with a 30-year-old, and it could have been a 50-year-old. It could have been a 70-year-old. Mm-hmm. Same conversation. And then from a community society perspective, I think it's very sad that we're not caring about each other's goals and dreams. And so it starts there. There's my wife was telling me there was a guy on YouTube. He's constantly approaching people and asking them what their dreams are. And I said, this is a beautiful thing. If you're going to ask somebody a question, it's a beautiful thing to ask what your dream is. And from my perspective, is how can we help each other? Yeah. How can we support each other to accomplish those dreams? Isn't that what life is all about? Helping and supporting each other accomplish the talents and gifts that we have. And yes, we can fall into the trap to say, you are an exceptional writer. That means that you're going to be a writer.
Right? Like, this is the way. He was like, absolutely not. Right? Absolutely not. Right? I don't want you to do that. So what I'll do here is that, do you think about what you want? What is your dream for yourself? And then I'll share mine. And then that way it's a way to kind of let you know our dreams change. So you want to go first or me?
I am living the dream. I am on Tabitha's podcast.
I hear that often. I'm living a dream. I'm like, okay.
So I'm on the podcast sharing my insights and valuable information and make people think. I love to make people think and address some of the blind spots that they didn't think about before. This is my dream job, is to provide objective information, helpful information, factual information to help people make an informed decision. And so, yes, I know life is complicated. We've got lots of things that are happening around us that impact our dreams and our future because other people are making decisions about our future. And so imagine if we're in a community where we all care and support each other, it's a much better place because then dreams are easily gotten as opposed to climbing up that mountain without the help and support of others in the frigid winter. 30 degrees under, like just the worst conditions. And if we took a poll, all right, if we're serious, right? If we took a poll, how many people are living out their dream? How many people are fulfilling their dreams? How many people know what their dreams are? And so this is a game changer if we had that mindset of helping and supporting each other and caring about each other, because they're going to do it to you. Yep. And isn't that better?
Yep. I tell you, when I was younger, I had a dream of being a lawyer. I wanted to become a lawyer. And then as time went on, I realized that I needed to be something else. So I became an engineer because I was really strong in that space, in technology. I have a very strong way of logical thinking, right? I have a way to make it through anything, and I can troubleshoot my way out of just about anything. I've not run into a problem that I was defeated by. Okay. I'm just not that person. Right. But my dream has always, since the age of 8, has always been to help those who cannot help themselves. It has always been to attack and to dismantle systems who do not benefit us any longer. And that's right now is K through 12. I remember having that conversation with my mom and says, I'm going to build something that's going to help families. I'm going to build not a system. I'm going to build a community where everybody will be able to help one another, and childcare won't be an issue, and finding a job won't be a problem, and having a meal and not missing meals because you can't afford it isn't a problem. So since I was about 8 or 9 years old, I have always had the goal and the desire to help other people. Right now, my hope and what I'm aiming for is for the educational system to be disrupted enough to change their mode of operation, to shift and to, I guess, turn the wheel of the boat away from this imminent danger that we're going straight into. So, and the only way to do that is when we have the right supporters. So, am I living my dream? Yes and no, because right now it feels a little bit more like a nightmare. I'm just going to say, yes, I can still be a lawyer. I still can be a lawyer because there's still a potential for me to go out and get a law degree. But today, my dream looks a little bit more like a nightmare, like, Nightmare Before Christmas. But at the end of the day, it is still what I want to do. I still believe there are groups of people in this country who still need the support from so many of us because they are being neglected and disregarded for their participation in life. And I am currently living the actions I would ask other people to take. So
yes. I'm voting for Tabitha Barron for 2024.
Look out now. I want Department of Education. I would like to have that leadership role because that will change a bunch of other things. So, like I say always, we love our teachers. We don't care what you say. So we love you, good, bad, or indifferent. We still love you. You serve a purpose, but we want you to be better. So we invite you to join us in our community and work to do something different. So please make sure to connect with Phil and get your children on a planning. on the pathway for planning. And until next time, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week, same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest, like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.